Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Series with Kevin, where we add value to people's lives, happening every day at 12 on ebizradio.com. Today we're chatting about leadership is a lifestyle, not a position. And joining me for today's chat, we've got the Master Transformational Coach, business consultant. She has 30 years experience in general and financial management, business consulting and coaching. Please welcome to today's chat, Dale Gerrans. Dale, am I saying it right? Dale Gerrans.
That's correct. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. And yourself?
Good, good, good. Thank you. So, to kick it straight off, Gail, why don't you first tell us who you are, what you do, how it came about that you're sort of involved in the position you're in right now, and then sort of give us that inroads on leadership, because I think how you've posed this information, I really love that. So it's going to be an interesting conversation.
Okay, awesome. So I started off in the financial game, and that was about over 30 years ago. And I worked myself up in the financial side of things. And then I got involved in general management. So I went from financial management into general management. But one of the things I always oversaw was HR. And I really started realizing that the only asset a company has is their people. And the people they employ there can make or break a company. So it doesn't matter how many other tools you bring in and assets you bring in. If you don't have the correct people in place, you're going nowhere quickly. And this doesn't mean that everybody's bad. Some people just aren't aligned to the positions they're in your company, or they're not aligned to your vision.
Yeah.
So I carried on doing that, and I was in general management. And then about 5 years ago, I went into transformation coaching because I realized I could make more of a difference reaching more companies by taking everything I'd learned and I'd implemented in companies and sharing it with others. So that's why I'm where I am today.
Fantastic. So, I mean, the point of what we're talking about today is leadership is a lifestyle, not a position. Why do you pose it that way, and why do you make that statement?
Well, I think one of the things I've seen, I mean, I've read, Googled everything on leadership for 20 odd years, and the definitions have definitely changed. Okay. Leadership used to be, and I'm going back 20, 30 years ago, a management position in a company. All
Yep.
right. Today, I say anybody can be a leader. If you choose to start leading your life consciously, you are automatically an example and a leader for everybody around you. And I think this is one of the things we really focus on in the business is just because you're a manager does not mean you're a leader. But just because you're not a manager doesn't mean you're not a leader. Because the leaders are those people that have your back, that are sitting next to you, they're surrounding you all the time, they're supporting you, and they're being their authentic selves. Because leaders can only lead from their authentic self space, not trying to please somebody else or be who they believe somebody else wants them to be.
So, I mean, I'm glad that you use that word, because I I try and steer away from it based on the fact that I've made some really bad business decisions, and I had a business partner who walked around telling everybody that you should be functioning from your authentic self, and really sort of aiming and gunning at that quite often. Um, what is it that we really need to be considering when you say authentic self? What is that, and how do we get there, and how do we know we've actually arrived there?
Well, one of the things I've seen in business is when you're speaking to somebody, and I must be honest, it's a youngster that I worked for about 15, 20 years ago that really showed me a different side of things. So he said, "This is who I am, and this is why I do what I do." And I just loved the energy. He and I actually had a very spiritual connection. And he was about 10 years younger than I was, but I was just You know, you go in thinking you're a bit older, you've got more experience, but I learned so much from him. And he was his authentic self. He says, this is the value I have to add. And it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'm going to connect with the people where I can add the value I've got, and they will become my clients. And he was amazing. He was amazing at that. And we had a dynamic business. It was a safe space. I was in senior management there. It was awesome. It was a safe space. Everybody added their true value because they knew what their gifts were and they felt safe enough to present what they had. So that is what I really encourage in business. You're employing somebody because of the value they can add, not because you want them to be like you.
Yeah. And so immediately, you would think that lends itself to really understanding what it is you value.
Without a doubt, but more than that, what I loved about what I learned from this young man is that he had a vision and he had a clear, precise vision of the way he wanted to do business consulting. And he said, I'm leaving these big companies because we've just become numbers and our processes are so stagnant. So he said, what I'm doing is I'm going in and I'm saying, I will listen to you and let's see what I can do to help you make your business better. So he really used his gifts and talents, and he was a visionary. There was no doubt about it. But I learned so much from that. And that is what I go into business and do. Not to say I've got a good idea for your business, but let's find out who you really are, why you started this business, and what vision you originally have. Are you online or not? And if not, why? Who's influencing you? Because you're not in competition with anybody else. The thing that differentiates you is adding your true gifts and values to the business.
Yeah, I mean, this in the last week, I was fortunate enough to work with a very large insurer, and we're working with their call center guys around really kicking up some service and what does an exceptional service person look like? And strangely enough, it all boiled down to this point. Self leadership, which is really important, and it's something you also chat about. But also really getting to know who they are for themselves, and as you're talking and I'm listening, you say what I really love about that is the moment people actually tap into who they really are, they really do get to a point where they step up into a gear, into a whole different gear, and it becomes almost a brain conversation. I don't know if this is how you've noticed, but when I do training and coaching, like you're mentioning, it also becomes that awareness, and the moment they really see that vision of themselves and their higher purpose and how they actually fit into their higher purpose, everything starts aligning, and what we were finding in this moment that we were having a full day's training, that because they suddenly saw their own value, they saw how it was lending itself to what they were doing in the environment, they then understood how their values literally fits into the corporate values, that they are given and said, these are our corporate values, you need to live by them. But I think, and that I think also speaks to that authenticity.
Without a doubt, Kevin. And one of the things is it's the safe space we create for people to do this in. Because what happens
Yes.
is if rules are too rigid, you're not going to grow. You've got to take the risks. And you've got to allow people that space where they can put their ideas on the table and be their authentic self without fear of judgment. So that makes a huge difference in training people, in working with people, is
Yeah.
come, we employed you because you are unique. You are authentic in yourself. And we see something in you and we want you to bring that to the table. So it is safe space. And, I'll guarantee you now, not every idea is going to work out, but you learn from every single thing that you work with. So it's amazing. And
Yeah.
trust is built.
So, just as a side question to this is, have you noticed, and just from your personal opinion, 2020 was 2020. And I think a lot of people are starting to shift the question around who they are, what is important, what it is they value, how they're starting to apply everything they know as leaders, as business owners, um, and leadership as a skill. Are you also finding that people are really starting to ask the difficult questions?
They are, and it's about time, Kevin. It really is. Because this smoothing over those difficult questions doesn't serve anybody. And I know when I do a talk in a company, and my in is normally the sales team, I'll say to the person that gets me to come in, let me tell you something that when I'm finished, you might have a few resignations.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, why? And I said, because I'm here for each individual. And if they are not aligned to your company's vision and your company's value, they've got to go. If they don't feel they belong, they've got to find a place that they do belong. And the
Yeah.
same goes for you. You've got to employ people that are inspired by what you do. They're inspired by your vision. They buy into your values. Their values are aligned to their own. And then you get a totally different dynamic in the company.
Yeah, and that leads me to the next question. Why do we need to employ the right people? And people half the time they kind of go, well, according to their resume, we definitely, employing the right people. That's the one thing. And the second thing is, we have an HR team that looks after all of that. And 90% of the time, and HR don't come after me, but 90% of the time, HR follow a plan on sort of a tick box exercise on how this person fits into that environment. And what we know from a coaching perspective, from a leadership perspective, as you mentioned, leadership is a skill. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. It's like learning to skateboard. If you don't do it every day, if you don't know how it shows up, if you don't know how it plays out in that environment, you're probably not going to get it right very often. And yeah, I think that lends itself to employing people. We also need to know who these people are, what they value, etc., etc.
This, this is a question that I get asked a lot. In fact, and I asked my client if I could share this. I had a client the other day that said to me, I work with a bunch of idiots. And my first question was, who employed them? Okay.
Oops.
Okay. And this is where we get to. She said their CVs were great. I said, yes, but did you share the vision of your company? I was a new client, so she said, I am clear on my vision. I said, I know you're clear on your vision, but does anybody else in your company know what your vision is? How are you communicating and expressing this vision? And she went, okay. And I said, and how do you run your interviews? Because you don't need to interview them for skills. You've got their CV, you've got their references, you know they've got the skills. The reason you're interviewing a person is to see they're the right fit for your company. If they buy into your vision, if they choose to be part of the team that creates that vision. But if you're not clear about what your vision is as a business owner or company leader, how can you share it with the people you're interviewing? And the next thing is the values and the company culture. I mean, what are your values? Are your values aligned to the company's values? But it goes deeper than that, Kevin, because I love walking into companies and I see a list of values and they're normally between 5 and 10 words written up.
Yes.
And I'll say,
They usually write authenticity and they usually write integrity. One of those are always there.
so let's use integrity, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Because it's always there, you're right. It's always there. So I'll say to them, what does integrity mean? And I go, you know what integrity means? I said, no, I want to know what integrity means as a value in this company. What behaviors in that support this value? And I'll go, well, being your integrity. So I said, well, can I share with you what integrity means to me? And I'll go, okay. And I'll go, when what I do say, think, and feel is consistent with my conscience, then I'm in my integrity. That does not mean your integrity is the same as mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the company's integrity? What is the behavior behind the company's integrity? And even though you may have an idea, does anybody else know what that behavior is? So everybody's doing the work on a surface level, and it's time to dig deeper. It's time to start adding real value and creating companies, because business owners, in my opinion, business owners have the power and the ability to make huge change, especially in a country like South Africa. And if they do the work and start rolling it out, they pay forward beautifully.
Yeah. I was doing with the training. I mean, exactly the process you're speaking about now. I also, this business is one of their values is integrity. And I said, oh, great. So tell me what's the behavior? How does integrity behave? And no one could answer me. And eventually one guy was sort of shyly stuck up his end and said, well, how I explain it is, I explained it to my daughter that when you shouldn't be taking out anything out of the fridge, and you open the fridge and I'm not around, you make the right decision to not just take anything out of the fridge. And I thought that, even a simple kind of analogy, I was like, that's perfectly explained, because, people don't know. They see these values and they see, yeah, authenticity. I must be authentic. I need to be real with myself. And yet, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, nobody knows anything about them. It's a nice bunch of words. So, and I think that, to that point about employing the right people, do you know who they are? Do they have the same value system? Do they know what integrity behaves like if you had to ask them? And I think, that speaks to leadership in 2021. And really, as you mentioned now, asking those difficult questions. But if we had to look at what advice would you give business owners and entrepreneurs who are looking to make a difference in the world today? To preface that, COVID, but vision, a mission. How do we? What advice can you give us about that today?
Well, Kevin, very often I'll say to people, especially new clients, I'll say, what is your vision? And I'll go, wow. And recently I had a client that brought out a chart full of figures. And I said, I get that this is your goals. This is what you'd like to reach. But what is your vision? What is that thing that tugs people's hearts, that show them that you care and you choose to make a difference in their lives? And he said to me, I don't get what you're saying. And he's been in business for 30 odd years. He said that this has always been my vision.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let me give you an example. In the 1950s, LG said, our vision is to be a household name in every home in America, to create affordable appliances that make a difference in your life, make your life simpler. I said, does that excite you? He went, oh, wow, yes. I said, so what are you saying to your customers? What value are you adding to their life? They don't care that you want to make millions and billions every year. That's not your vision. That's your strategy. That's your goals.
Yeah.
Your vision is something that tugs, that makes people realize that you care about them and you're here to make their lives better. And if you can teach this to your staff, they can take it back into their home lives and their children learn about it and they teach their friends. And this is what I like working in the business space, because the ability for people to pay it forward is great.
Yeah.
If you train them and educate them properly.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, I also work in the business space, and when you see leaders change, and I did some training again this morning online, and posing challenging questions and really getting them to start. I mean, you can visually see how they're starting to put those dots together, and you kind of go, well, that's the point, because I have 6 people online right now, and they're all senior in the work environment. But when they get it, they're influencing hundreds and hundreds of people,
They
and you kind
are.
of going, well, then that's the point, then that's really the happiness at the end of the day.
It is, and that's the right word. It's the happiness. It's the fulfillment in what you're doing. And that to me is, money is the result you get from doing a very good job.
Yeah,
So it cannot be your vision. It cannot be there. It is the result you're getting. So if you're doing what you do well and you're getting it out there and it's affecting people's lives, the money will come. There's no doubt about that.
yeah. I just want to, it's just a side note now that's just occurred to me. You and I both are on a similar program, same program, for your inner saboteur.
Yes.
Don't you want to just touch on that? Because I know that you're absolutely loving it, like I am. I noticed that, and from a leadership perspective, I think that's such a fundamental that we start paying attention to who our saboteur is, because in leadership, uh, we tend to want to show up in a certain way, but we also, from a leadership perspective, whether you're a business owner or the senior vice president or the director of, you also have that saboteur that judges you, that really kicks into gear and really wants you to break down or debilitate you in some level. How do you sort of think around saboteur, especially in the leadership space?
Well, you know what? This is a big thing, and I'm often asked, what's the difference between a leader, a coach, and a mentor?
Yeah,
And I really gave me a lot to think about, and it took me a long time to come up with what I came up with.
mm,
But a mentor is really somebody that teaches you how to do things their way. A leader stands in their absolute authenticity and knows that you are not them, that you are your own individual person, and they empower you and encourage you to stand in your authenticity. That's a
yeah,
great leader. A coach allows you to dig deep within yourself, to find those aspects of yourself that you're hiding, you don't want to face, or you project onto others. And this is really what you're talking about now. You're talking about the judge within ourselves. And
yeah,
I love the program you and I are busy doing at the moment. It's fantastic. But when you see how that part of yourself, and I've got a process that I've been running for years with my clients, where I ask them to imagine one part of themselves, the part that holds them back, stand on one hand, and the part that drives them forward, stand on the other hand, and visualize it, see what it looks like. So now you can see why I'm loving the workshop so much, because
yeah,
I've been doing a lot of this. And it's amazing what comes out. Because when I ask myself or my clients, what's this one doing? They're both doing it to keep you safe. If you start speaking to them, they do it to keep you safe.
yeah,
Except the one comes from fear and the other one comes from love. And that is the only difference. When we are in fear, our saboteurs pop up. And then it's fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being accepted, fear of all those type of things. When we're in love, we're coming from a totally different space. We're coming from our absolute authenticity. This is who I am. And, when you are able to be yourself, you're unconsciously giving other people permission to be themselves as well.
mm,
Just connect with them. And some people add a lot of value to your life, some people add very little, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you right and they wrong.
yeah,
And I think the world would be a better place if we could all just acknowledge each other and say, I see you are on your journey doing the best you can. Find the
mm,
place you fit and you belong, where you're appreciated for the value you actually add. And I really think this is the work that both you and I do in the business space,
mm,
is find that place where you belong. But until those business owners are clear about the culture and the environment they are creating and the vision that they are sharing, how does anybody know whether they belong there or not?
Yeah. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. It just makes me think now. Also, in the last week, I've actually been working with a school, and the school has lost their vision. They've lost their mission. They don't know why they're there. All of the teachers are kind of like up in arms kind of moment. We even had in the training, we actually had a moment where the there was a bit of a racial tension between two teachers. And how you preface it now is, that way of being able to make people feel safe and just to see that they're on a journey, and kind of go, if I just sat down for 5 minutes and created some space for you and just let you share that you're on this journey. And that's what we did. We had, I said to them, guys, I can see there's a lot of tension here. And they literally had to go and create some space, safe space for each other. And the dynamic and energy that shifted in the training day, based on the fact that they actually sat there and took 10 minutes to just share and listen to each other. It's like profound, it's,
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And those are those difficult conversations. And you have got to have those difficult conversations, because so often you are reading something into what somebody is saying that is definitely not even the intention in the beginning. So it comes from our insecurities and our perception of what's really going on.
Yeah.
But you don't know when you're assuming. You need to have the conversation in order to become clear.
Yeah. Gail, I love this. I love the conversation. I love the points you're touching on. Tell me, in summary of everything we've spoken to, if someone's listening to this today, what do you want to leave them with? What inspiration and kind of bit of like, wow, could you add to their day?
Well, if you are a business owner, get clear on your vision, absolutely clear on your vision, and then share it. Because if you've got something to share, you have no right to keep it to yourself. It is going to serve you so well, because you're going to start employing the right people, the people that buy into your vision. One of the two words that have always just confused me, I mean, don't want to mention, but somebody had them in their ad. When you've got to motivate somebody, that is the most difficult job as a manager or business owner to have, because you're continually dangling this carrot just out of someone's reach. And it is energy draining, it's exhausting. If you employ somebody that is inspired by your vision, they live and breathe, they choose to be part of the team that creates that vision, they're excited to come to work. They're like, what's the next step? Where are we today? So that's definitely it. If you've got that vision, share it and become clear on it, absolutely clear. Then your values follow. The second thing is for everybody out there, you don't have to be a business owner to be a leader, is start having a look at who you really are and be your authentic self. Because if you're trying to be what you think somebody else wants you to be, you're never ever going to fit in anywhere. You're never going to feel fulfilled, and you're never going to feel like you belong. So when you discover who you really are, you will find the place you belong.
And if they don't know how, they could just give you a call, or they could give me a call, and we can help.
Well, I'll tell you something we actually launched today.
Tell
We
us.
launched, so with two other master transformation coaches, we've been working on the self-discovery online program, and it's run on a very interactive platform for a while. And we launched it today. So for somebody who, I mean, coaching, you and I know the value that coaching adds. I still see my coach. I'm sure you still see a coach.
Yeah.
In fact, I think yes. So the value of coaching is unbelievable. But if you don't have time or don't have the funds for coaching, get yourself a program that is written by somebody that's knows what they're talking about, and start discovering who you really are and ask the questions. Because when you find out who you are, then you're going to be limitless. Nothing can stop you.
Fantastic. Del, and lastly, to find out more about you and about the program you've launched, where do we get hold of? What are your social medias and website handles?
Okay, so I've got two companies. Shift Vibration is my company, and Shift Dimension is the company I'm in with Gwen and Claudio.
Yeah.
So it's both websites, www.shiftdimension or shiftvibration.co.za.
Yeah.
It's Dale Gerrans on Facebook. It's Dale Gerrans on YouTube. Dale Gerrans on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. And guys, obviously all that information will be shared in the description box below on YouTube. So please like, share, and subscribe to the videos, because the aim to the Lunchtime series is always to add value to everyone's lives. So Dale, thank you for joining me today. Thanks for making time. Thank you for sharing. And we must do it again. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Thank you for the opportunity, Kevin. That was awesome.
Cheers for now.
Thank you. Bye.